Hello, chess family. It's me, National Master Jesse James, and today we're going over highlights of the 2023 Spring Slammer, a San Antonio favorite tournament. Now, I was very happy to win all 5 games, so we're going to be taking a look at all 5 of those and the highlights of those and the positions. Here we go. The first game I'm playing against Stephen Gray. He's a strong player from the Valley. And well, in this position, White definitely has an advantage over here on the queen side. And well, how would you push through in this position? Feel free to push pause if you want to take a look. Alright, hopefully you tried to figure out some ideas. Here in this position, I went ahead and played knight to c5. If you have some other ideas, feel free to comment below and we can discuss and see about, well, if that was a good idea or not. Well, with this knight to c5 right here, the idea was to put pressure on the b7 pawn. And here, what I'm really trying to do is egg him on to take on c5. Why would I want this? Well, if he does take on c5, I'm going to get the open b file, and this is going to be a backwards pawn that I can attack. And here, well, it's almost forced to take here because, well, I'm threatening the pawn going to a5 here. And if the queen moves away, there's really only one square for the queen to move to, which is to d8. At that point, my knight can take on b7, and, well, I'm just going to be happy up an extra pawn. So he went ahead and took on c5 here. And, well, here I did find a nice move. Mind you, if you just take back right away, White is still winning in this position, but after something like queen to a5, the queen finds a nice little snug square and puts pressure on my c3 pawn. Here I play queen to b3, and, well, I do like my position. It's not the best it could be. This queen's getting a little bit annoying over here, and it's not so easy for me to bring my rook over because this bishop's right here. I really want to keep my queen here to play bishop to d3 so I can, well, trade it off and get my rooks to put pressure on this backwards pawn. So here, I was able to find a nice Inter-Zamora move. Do you see what you should play? Hopefully you see the idea. Now, let's take the queen a5 idea away. Here we go ahead and play pawn to a5. The queen must move away, and now I can take on c5 here. And I worked on this backwards pawn pretty much the whole game. And, well, we're going to skip over to the end over here, where I was able to win the pawn and put pressure down the b file. This is what the position eventually looks like. This is all the way over on move. Woo, 32 over here. And what was White to move and win with a very nice tactic. White to move. What do you play here? All right, hopefully you push pause and tried to figure this one out. Believe it or not, it is the very simple queen to b1, and there is no good way to stop rook b8 from coming, from either losing the queen or just losing the game, period. Here the queen is able to control the h7 square, but also do Alekhine's gun and get to b8. And again, there's no way of blocking this. And, well, look at these rooks. I don't know if they can become more or less useless in this position. All right, let's go on to the next game. We are playing against Johan. He is one of Corpus Christi's strongest players. And in this position, well, I went ahead and played bishop h6. Here we can see, well, this position is pretty much, well, very, very complicated, right? We have the opposite color bishops over here, so there can definitely be some aggressive tendencies whenever they're opposite with the rooks and queens on the board. If those guys get trade off, then there could be draw prospects, which I assume that was what my opponent wanted. And so I played bishop h6 here, and I'm like, okay, I am a bit better in this position because of his double pawns, but I should be able to keep pushing and, you know, creating weaknesses in his position. But that being said, bishop h6 was a mistake, and he played queen to a4 here, and I was like, oh no! With one move, my dreams are just getting crushed over here. Here it's attacking the unprotected a7 pawn, the undefended rook, and the pawn here on d4. Okay, here we go. In this position, I thought for quite a while, and I ended up playing a reserved move. Could you find the move that was best in this position? Hopefully you can. I'd like to think this one is not too hard, but here I did not play the move of rook e2, which was best. Why? I wasn't too sure about what to do in this position because I saw a lot of pawns are going to be getting off the board, and I just did not want that. So here I went ahead and just played nice and reserved, rook to e7. I mean, at this point in the game, I will say both of us were getting down to like the 10 to 5 minute mark, so things were coming up a bit blitzed here. He went ahead and took on d4. I played bishop g7, queen takes on a7, and then bishop takes on b2 here. This is the position I had seen, and, well, I felt very comfortable in this position. Plus, I had seen a trap that, unfortunately for him, he did fall for. He went ahead and played rook to b1 here, and now it is now black at negative 0.5. Can you find the move that my opponent missed? Black to move and get into a winning position. What do you play here? Alright, it was black to move. Here he played rook b1 to attack the bishop. Unfortunately for him, he missed that. This is not a real threat. Here we go ahead and play queen takes on f4 here for two nice threats for not taking the bishop. Why can't we take? Well, if rook takes on b2, here we have rook e1 check, which will lead to a nice mate. Or you can play, well, queen to c1 check here and win the rook here too. And after this pawn fell, well, it actually opened up the position, especially for the dark squares. By playing queen takes on f4, I'm also threatening bishop to d4, and again, the dark squares are getting very weak over here. Here the game continued with queen a8 check, king to g7. King f7 is what I really wanted to play, but I was just worried about some kind of sacrifices and maybe the bishop jumping in. So I just kept on the dark squares. It's always a good idea to go opposite of whatever color your opponent's bishop is. Queen to d8, bishop to d4 check, king h1, bishop f6, a nice little cheapo here, rook e1 check to try and win the queen. He went ahead and played queen to b6 and bishop to e5. At this point, I was able to put really good pressure on h2, and his pieces, well, they just never really recover. Queen goes back to g1, queen to h4, rook to c1, bishop f4, pawn to d6. Here he was running out of ideas, so he just starts to sacrifice. Bishop takes on d6, rook to c2, and now the final tactic in this position to blow it open. What did I play here? Hopefully you see it. Here it's bishop takes on h2. Well, this is all but forced here. He went ahead and took, and the idea here was rook to e1 check, bishop to f1, rook takes on f1 check, and king to g2. Here there was actually a very nice finish here. I went ahead and just played queen takes on h2 and went into a winning rook and pawn endgame. With that being said, the computer says, no, Jesse. Here there's a very nice technical finish. Queen g4 check, king takes, queen d1 check, king to g2, queen takes rook, screwing at the end and just trading down into a winning king and pawn endgame. It would have been very nice to see this, but life goes on, right? And well, I was happy to go into the other winning rook and pawn endgame. All right, here we go on to round 3. We're playing against Matthew Ortiz, one of San Antonio's strongest players. And here, I went ahead and played rook to d8, and my opponent played pawn to a3. Wah, wah, wah. At this point, it now allows black to take advantage of the position. All right, what do you do in this position? Here we go. Let's push forward. Pawn to d4 gets played. I have the hanging pawns, or the center in this game, so push where you have the advantage. It's the center. So d4 gets played, kicking the knight, and wow, it's really kind of hard to find a good square for him. And here he went ahead and played knight to e2, and here I sat for a long time looking at all these different variations, and well, I missed one of the ideas here. I went ahead and played pawn to d3 here, thinking I was going to be able to, push forward and make a queen. There was a lot of moves here, bishop b3, and here he surprised me. He came back immediately and played knight to d4 here, and all of a sudden things were going crazy for me. It was a very, very complex position, and here I played way too fast. Here I went ahead and played knight takes on d4. Not the best move here. Here I was supposed to just keep my cool and play bishop to d7 here. And after knight takes, bishop takes, well, I got so many good things going on in this position. The queen must run to c4 to keep guarding the bishop over here. I can take on f3. I have a passed pawn. This is just a very, very good position for me. But like I said, unfortunately, I got a little too emotional, and I played knight takes d4 right away. Pawn takes d4, knight to d5, bishop g3, and here, well, I went for it. Queen takes on b2. If you're going to be in a worse position, you might as well have an extra pawn for it. I'm not sure if I was worse here, but I will say it was uncomfortable with the position. And here the idea was, well, there's some knight c3 ideas, and well, I got this passed pawn running over here. Here he went ahead and played rook b1, and now I traded down to an endgame. Knight c3, rook takes, rook to d2. And here I did sit for a little while and think, what was the best decision here? Again, it is a very complicated position with pieces all over the board. And, well, black to move. What do you play in this position? All right, hopefully you push pause and tried to figure it out. Here in this position, I went ahead and played pawn to c4. Two connected passed pawns. How could I say no? Why was this such a hard move to try and play? Well, hopefully you saw that, well, he did play this. Bishop b7 gets played, and my rook is trapped. So this was done by knowing I'm going to be giving up the exchange. With that being said, this was a very nice position for these passed pawns, so I went on to win a very nice endgame here. All right, on to the next one. Here I get to go against, again, another strong young player. Here we get to play against Ashwin. And here, well, he was playing a King's Indian defense against my London system. And, well, he went ahead and played pawn g4. A little too aggressive over here on the king side, especially because his king was so opened up. And here I was able to grab grab control over this very nice position, or get a good advantage by playing h takes g4, f takes on g4, and then I played pawn to f5. At this point, I did think that I was winning here, but the young kid was able to find some very nice defensive resources here. Could you figure out here? Black to move. What do you play here to not lose a piece? Here the idea for me was, well, if he plays bishop takes on f5, well, now I have queen to d5 check, and after the king moves away, rook takes on f5. Okay, what happens if I take with the rook first? It covers over here, right? Well, again, I take on f5, takes on f5, and queen d5 check, and again, I win the piece. But here, he found a very nice defensive resource and played pawn to g3. Okay, bishop takes on g3. It's pretty much forced, or else I lose the piece. And now the idea was to play bishop takes on c3. Now, this is forced. Here, the idea, if you try to play queen to g5, the idea is to put pressure on the bishop, and the pawn does not work because I get to play knight to e4 here, gaining that tempo, attacking the queen, but defending my bishop and allowing me to take next move over here. There's no good place for the queen to move to attack one of my pieces. So here, you must get rid of the knight first. Bishop takes on c3, queen takes on c3, and now bishop takes on f5. And, well, here I do have a good position because I have the bishop pair, and, well, this king is just very vulnerable. I went on to win a very nice game here because just of the vulnerability of this king. All right, on for the last one. Here we go. This was against Luke. By all means, this was a very, very dry and boring game. I got no opening advantage here, and my opponent, well, just has a pretty good position here. In fact, I think he was slightly better the whole game. With that being said, I kept playing nice and solid. Again, if you look at the quote below, wait for your opponent to come up with the plan. That will help you win. And here he played the idea of knight to g5, which is actually not such a bad idea if you are going with your opponent's ideas at least. If knight takes on g5, well, queen takes on g5, and again, well, there's some attacking chances over here, and you can definitely get into a bad position here with black. I mean, for white, if you're not paying attention. But by all means, it would be at least even here. Well, here, you got to play for the advantage some way. Here where I went ahead and played knight to e5, putting pressure on the f7 pawn. And, well, unfortunately for Luke, he was not able to defend this position correctly. He went ahead and played king to f8. I mean, there was many moves that you can play here to keep the balance in the position. King f8 was just not one of them. And here I went ahead and played pawn f4, kicking the knight. And, well, knight to e6 gets played. And here I went ahead and played rook takes on d8. Not the best move here. Here I was actually supposed to be playing bishop takes on e6 because, well, if you take back with the pawn, here it's going to be good knight versus bad bishop. This knight is just very much king of the board right now, controlling lots of squares, and it can't be kicked at all. So here you would have to play rook takes on d1, which I had seen, queen takes, and then you have to take with the pawn here, which again gives you that good knight versus bad bishop. Wait a second. After queen takes, why can't we do this? This keeps the pawn structure together. Believe it or not, it is forced checkmate in 3. Can you see it? All right, this is not a hard one. Hopefully you can find this one. Queen to d8 check, queen e8, knight d7 check, king g8, and queen takes e8 for a nice mate. All right, back to the game. I went ahead and played pawn f4, kicking the knight. He went ahead and played knight e6. Rook takes d8, knight takes on d8, and here I just kept adding pressure. Here you can see a lot of my pieces are putting pressure on the f7 square, so queen to h5. And again, here he can just play the simple king to g8 here and guard everything from happening. The queen on h5 is putting pressure on h7 and f7. Now, I won't say there's not any tricks here. I was really hoping for something like, I don't know, pawn to h6 to get played, so then you can play a beautiful tactic, which actually happens in the game, so I won't spoil it for you just yet. But here, I went ahead and played, after he played, oh gosh, what did he play here? Oh, he did play pawn to h6, sorry. I went ahead and played queen to f5, and here was a threat, knight to g6 check here. And, well, of course, there's many ways to stop this. Again, you could probably just play something like king to g8, although I had ideas about bishop d3 going kingside, maybe even sacrificing over here. But here, he missed it, and he went ahead and played queen d6. And he said he was just too worried about everything else that he missed the f7 over here. All right, it is now white to move. What do you play here to win? What's the strongest move here? It's bishop takes on f7. Simple chess. Here I'm threatening knight to g6 for check and mate. Here he was definitely thinking about the queen going to d2 for check, mating ideas with himself. But unfortunately, now he needs to defend. And here he made another blunder, queen to f6. All right, game over. What do you guys do here? Simple chess. Knight d7 check. King takes. Knight takes. And here, I mean, this was just not a good one for him at all. Pawn takes, and here, well, we get to win the knight at the end with queen to d7 check. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the highlights from my games. If you guys have any questions about the games or maybe moves I could have tried, please let me know, and don't forget to subscribe and give me a like. All right, we'll see you in the next video.